X-Play, the center of the gaming universe.
Today on X-Play, we go hands-on with Ninja Gaiden 2 and talk with the legendary Itagaki. Our forecast calls for bloody showers and plenty of flying limbs. In today's Cheat, Kristen Holt helps you with the Herculean task of beating Call of Duty 4 on Veteran. Plus, we go on location to check out the new Command & Conquer first-person shooter, Tiberium. Get ready, it's game time!
Hello and welcome to X-Play, TV's most watched video game show. I'm Adam Sessler.
And I'm Morgan Webb. We're coming to you from the G4 Studios in Los Angeles on Monday, January 28th.
On today's show, we cut through the hype and sit down with Itagaki to get the real story on what to expect in Ninja Gaiden 2. Plus, after years of critiquing games, we finally get to see if Gabe and Taika will put up or shut up in our preview of the Penny Arcade game.
Then the Command & Conquer saga gets up close and personal in Tiberium, and we'll go on location for a look at this new first-person shooter. And after today's Cheat, you'll finally be able to beat Call of Duty 4's mind-crushing veteran difficulty. Believe it or not, there is a way. But first, let's go to Adam for all of the latest headlines in our gaming update.
Thanks, Morgan. Well, in response to the madness surrounding Fox News' Mass Effect segment, psychology specialist Cooper Lawrence was quoted in the New York Times saying that she had only been told by a friend that Mass Effect was, quote, like pornography, and that she regrets what she said about the game. After seeing actual gameplay and the so-called sex scenes, she admitted that the whole thing was, well, kind of a joke. Despite her regrets, Fox News and Cooper Lawrence have yet to actually say, I apologize. It's about time, guys. Rumors regarding a Metal Gear Solid 4 demo appear to have been shot down. In a webcast from Konami's website, Ryan Payton, an associate producer at Kojima Productions, confirmed there will be no demo on the PlayStation Network this February. Whether or not a demo will be unleashed before the game's official retail release remains to be seen. New screenshots for Resistance 2 have finally popped up. These images reveal an amazing amount of detail in the game's character and level design. From a shadowy airport hangar to a dark and moody industrial level, the game appears to have huge depth of field and is sporting a lighting engine that even Sam Fisher would be jealous of. Now, details are scarce, but the game is said to feature improved enemy AI, a new health system, and improved checkpoints. Of course, we're also looking forward to the game's 60-player squad-based multiplayer action. I am personally very excited. The release of Super Smash Bros. Brawl is still about 1 month away. In the meantime, Nintendo has revealed a new Masterpieces section in the game where gamers will find free playable demos of classic Nintendo titles. 9 different demos have already been confirmed and include classics like Ice Climber, The Legend of Zelda, Super Metroid, and Star Fox 64. The demos will have time limits, but full versions of these masterpieces can be purchased through the Wii Shop channel. Funny that. That's all for today's gaming update. Be sure to visit us on the web at g4tv.com/xplay to continue getting all of today's up-to-the-minute video game news. But now, let's go over to Morgan, who has the latest from the creators of the Ninja Gaiden franchise.
Thanks, Adam. After 2 remakes of Ninja Gaiden, Itagaki and Team Ninja have finally moved on to the game's sequel. It promises more weapons, more decapitations, and of course, geysers of blood. Recently, we went hands-on with the further adventures of Ryu Hayabusa.
There's probably no one more iconic in the games industry than the gentleman seated next to me, Tomonobu Itagaki, the creator of Ninja Gaiden and now Ninja Gaiden 2. I've always felt that the original Ninja Gaiden in 2004 on the Xbox was pretty much the perfection of the action game. Having said that, what are you bringing to the table to, once again, re-perfect what already was so good?
That's a great question. I'm flattered that you say that Ninja Gaiden in 2004 was the pinnacle of the action game genre. So, you know, we just want to make it a little bit more accessible. And we want something that is easier to approach, easier to pick up and play. Something that is not necessarily easy to win, but that you're having fun even if you lose.
So does this mean that the control scheme will be different than the original Ninja Gaiden, which you definitely had to be more adept at memorizing certain button combinations?
技の数自体がすごいたくさん増えてる。
I think it's safe to say that would be the case. I have added a whole lot of new moves to Ryu Hayabusa's repertoire, and you could literally just be, doing all sorts of button combinations, and you're going to see new animations and new cool attacks in all these different situations.
The animation system in this game, is this the first thing that you work on when you build the game?
Yes.
Animation is really the most important thing for the kind of games that we make.
何かを
The first Ninja Gaiden was a game where it was fun to control Ryu Hayabusa because it had so many different animations. In Ninja Gaiden 2, of course, we're keeping that intact, but we're also showing how cool the enemies' animations and movements are, and how many different variations of ways that you can kill them. In the previous game, you could decapitate enemies, but that's as far as it went. In Ninja Gaiden 2, you're going to not only be able to decapitate, but you can also lop off the left arm, you can lop off the right arm, you can even cut off legs, because you're going to see all these different ways of defeating them with all these new animations and cool attacks.
Well, while we're on the topic of taking body parts off one piece at a time, obviously this game is definitely a step up in the blood count from the original Ninja Gaiden. Did you plan to have the original Ninja Gaiden be this over-the-top bloody, or is this something that you'd only decided to do with Ninja Gaiden 2?
両方だよね。両方。
I think it's a little bit of both. When I was doing the original Ninja Gaiden, I had to make a choice. Do I use resources on, creating these violent elements, or do I use resources on refining the core gameplay elements? But this time around, the key concept from the beginning is we're going to do violence, we're going to do it over the top, and go as far as we can. I've just been kind of, shooting for the horizon on that. I think just myself as a creator, what I do is just over the top. I just take it too far with everything I do.
Thank you so much, Itagaki-san. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, and congratulations on the game.
Thank you again.
We still won't see Ninja Gaiden 2 for a little while, so it's best to distract yourself with other titles.
Whether you do it by mail or in person, Rending Games will do the trick and save you the trouble of an eventual trade-in. In today's X List, we have the top 5 game rentals.
At number 5, we find Kingdom Under Fire Circle of Doom. Asking $60 for this game? That is too much. Asking $10 for a week? That's more reasonable.
Number 4 is the game that Fox News loves to hate and give factually incorrect reports on, Mass Effect. We all know the kids are renting it for the penetration shots. Number 3 is Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, which is a great rental if you're too poor to buy it.
In at number 2 is Assassin's Creed. We can't recommend the Enemy of the Poor achievement enough. Get a job, you bum. And number 1 is the sandbox racer that's going to keep virtual body shops in business for a long time, Burnout Paradise.
All right, stay right there. We've got answers to your questions, survival tactics, and everything that will focus your ADD for a half hour.
Coming up on X-Play, Kristen Holt will help you master Call of Duty 4's veteran difficulty in today's cheat. Then, we go on location to check out Tiberium, the latest chapter in the Command & Conquer saga. And later, Penny Arcade comes to a console near you. Stay tuned.
With games that just came out like Mass Effect and the soon-to-be T-Human, is this how we're going to start seeing our RPGs playing out? More free action, move about, instead of turn-based?
Welcome back to X-Play. Thanks for your question, Brady. Yeah, I think so.
I think this definitely is. I think the amazing success of Mass Effect is just testament to that. People really gravitate towards this because it's really more appealing to most gamers out there.
It's just more accessible. I think turn-based is hard for people to kind of pick up and grasp if they don't have the basis for it. But, there's always the handhelds. They're going to be where you're going to find your turn-based.
And there's Sid Meier. I guess that's strategy. But still, if you need your turn-based, you can't do better than that. All right. And remember, if you're really thirsty for turn-based gameplay, Square Enix will be there to give you a remake every 6 months or so.
But now let's get into some frantic, non-stop combat. Since Call of Duty 4's achievements don't cover multiplayer, you're going to need to beat the single-player game on Veteran for that perfect score. Thankfully, Kristen Holt is here with a few tips in today's cheat.
Thanks, Morgan. I know it might seem impossible to make it out of the TV station intact, but believe it or not, there's a way. Before you smash your controller in frustration, check out these strategies for survival. Call of Duty 4's veteran difficulty can be a bit, overwhelming at times. One of the keys to victory is understanding when a bad guy is gonna pop out and when a good guy is gonna help out. Exhibit A, the infamous TV station. This room goes downhill in a hurry. Once you cross these lines, enemies will spawn in the offices, and a gang of terrorists will head out of this hallway, which is, unfortunately, your destination. Rather than heading towards the offices and their illusion of cover, try this route. Turn right when you enter the station, and break for that small closet in the corner. If you're feeling extra mean, flashbang the hallway and pick off a few tangos before you hide. The advantage in here is that enemies rarely rush you, and grenades are very easy to toss back from this tiny space. As they try to get to your position, your silly teammates will slowly pick off most of the terrorists. After 4 or 5 minutes, when the shooting starts to die down, peek your head out and move towards the hallway for that sweet, sweet checkpoint. Another tough level is Safe House. We are ordered to advance up a hill, searching each house along the way for some big shot bad guy. This would be easy if each house wasn't filled with several hundred scumbags. There's our next house. Once again, the trick is to find a spot that will pull your lazy wingmen up and let them do your dirty work. The back door seems pretty busy, so we'll try the front door. Looks like our simple-minded buddies will follow us up here, but there's still too much heat coming out of this door. How about under the deck? Seems safe, but where are homies at? Let's try against the front wall. So far, so good. We'll tuck this guy in and, hey, the gang's all here. Happy to see you idiots as always. If you continue to play smart, be patient, and always wear your necklace made of rabbit's feet, you too will be a Call of Duty 4 veteran. Hey, if the AI can be cheap, then so can you. Be sure to check out g4tv.com/cheat for the latest tips and tricks. Right now, I'm going to send it back over to Morgan.
Thank you, Kristen. Now, we have to take a quick break, but when X-Play comes back, we go on location to check out Tiberium, which is a first-person shooter set in the Command & Conquer world. Then we've got a preview of the Penny Arcade game, which promises to be smart-assy. But first, let's take a look at Call of Duty 4's fastest recruits in today's leaderboard.
Image isn't everything. Image tags count as well. Indie Games begins in 60 seconds. Hey everybody, welcome to Indie Games, your minute's worth of free fun online. Now, image tags aren't the most exciting thing in the world, I know that. That is, however, unless you're playing the new Google image labeling game. Now, this site matches you with a random partner, and the two of you compete to come up with as many tags as you can for a series of images. Now, you get 50 points for individual tags like drunk or cheerleader, but if you can get specific like drunk Southern cheerleader, you'll earn a higher score. Now, I know it's no Nintendo DS, but it will still give your prefrontal cortex a very killer workout. The best part is you can play it at your desk, and it almost looks like you're working. You're welcome. Hit me up at g4tv.com/indiegames for a link to this and other free online fun. Until next time, I'm Kevin Pereira. What do you want for nothing?
Welcome back to X-Play. Last year, Electronic Arts gave us the 4-star RTS Command & Conquer 3 Tiberium Wars. This year, they're back, protecting us from a sprint invasion with the first-person shooter Tiberium, the first since Command & Conquer Renegade. We went on location to EA for a closer look. We recently got a chance to talk with the people behind the scenes of Tiberium, which means to you, faithful viewers, go the spoils.
Tiberium is a science fiction first-person shooter where squad control is a big part of the game. So your arsenal of weapons includes a transforming weapon we call the GD-10, but you also have squads of infantry, missile teams, aircraft in the form of Orca, close air support craft, and Titan walkers, which are big armored units. And those are also weapons at your disposal. It's set in the Tiberium universe, which is inspired by the original Command & Conquer game. What we're doing with it is really taking players into the heart of that Tiberium mythology. It's a world that's been transformed by the discovery of this powerful resource called Tiberium. It's an alien material, it spreads like cancer, it's radioactive, and it's really become the new oil. Divided the planet, and that's really the source of the conflict in the Tiberium universe. And we're going to put players in the role of Ricardo Vega, who's a forward battle commander.
He's basically a man on the mission to solve the riddle of the last tower.
But what sets Tiberium apart from other games?
So one of the things that's really unique about Tiberium is you can take multi-squad combat into multiplayer. So, it's not just you and against a bunch of players, it's you against players and their squads, and their Titan mechs, and their Orcas, and their missile teams, and so forth, and you're doing the same thing. And so it really changes the landscape a little bit when every player also has these NPCs under their control.
They also went to great lengths to create a distinct sound for the game.
The audio design for Tiberium is really based on the idea of it being epic sci-fi. We wanted to create a world that was different but deep, something that had signature sound and style to it, so when you heard them out of context, you would go, oh, that's the sound from Tiberium. We wanted to make sure that each of the sounds were homogeneous, like they all felt like they were part of the same family, and coming up with the right transition sounds and everything. It has been a lot of experimentation, but the thing that's great about it is it's sort of a great foundation to work with. Not only does the sound design kind of shift based on the environment that you're in, but the music's scored very differently for each of those different things. So when we get into the Nod territories, it brings in a lot of interesting ethnic instruments. It kind of has more mystical kind of feel like you would expect Nod to have, whereas GDI is much more straight ahead military kind of feel, and aliens are chaotic and ambiguous and strange and things that you just feel like you had never heard before.
And if you're still not clear on what Tiberium is exactly, that's okay. They're getting to it.
We want to start telling the reason and the being for Tiberium. It's basically show people why Tiberium's there and what it means in the future.
But perhaps you think it's too late to jump on the Tiberium train. Well, you'd be wrong. There's no time like the present.
It could be a fresh entry point. If you haven't played a game in the Tiberium universe before, this is a great opportunity to do it because we are introducing a new player character. If you're a fan of the franchise already, you'll be able to get in and kind of learn a deeper story.
So get ready for Tiberium, and don't forget to pick up your hazmat suit from the cleaner.
Coming up, Penny Arcade's Gabe and Tycho star in a game all their own. We preview On the Rain-Slick Precipice of Darkness when X-Play returns. X-Play presents GDC 08. Come along as Adam and Morgan uncover the very latest in gaming. X-Play from the GDC starts February 18th, only on G4.
We've swapped.
This show also available on G4 On Demand.
Welcome back to X-Play. For years, the webcomic Penny Arcade has been keeping the gaming industry honest. But now Gabe and Tycho are poised to be sucked into the very machine they mock, as a game based on Penny Arcade is set to be released later this year. It's called Penny Arcade Adventures on the Rain-Slick Precipice of Darkness, Episode 1, and we've got a preview.
If you talk about video games long enough, eventually you have to make one. That's just what the guys at PennyArcade.com are hatching with their debut title, Penny Arcade Adventures on the Rain-Slick Precipice of Darkness, Episode 1. Game producer Joel DeYoung gives us the lowdown on Gabe, Tycho, and an adventure almost as epic as its name is long.
Tycho said a little while back, if they were to consider making a game
about two guys sitting on a couch playing video games doesn't make for the most exciting gameplay. So the story takes place in the 1920s in a Lovecraftian kind of steampunk style world where Gabe and Tycho run a detective agency.
With the concept so far removed from what fans have come to expect from Penny Arcade, a lot of collaboration between Gabe and Tycho and the team at Hothead Games was essential.
Our primary goal when we started working on this and all the way along has been that this is an authentically Penny Arcade experience. So we work extremely closely with the guys at Penny Arcade on this game. Tycho is on the phone with our lead designer talking about dialogue, and Gabe has done all the art direction.
As far as getting the game out to players, Penny Arcade and Hothead see that as yet another opportunity to break with tradition.
On the Rain-Slick Precipice of Darkness is the name for the entire game series, and there is a plan for a large story arc that runs the entire length of the game series. Our goal is to get a new episode out every 4 months or so.
A final note to all the Penny Arcade fanboys out there, if you're ready to complain, and we know you are, Hothead is ready to listen.
Will there be things people don't like? I'm sure there will be, and we're committed to listening to that and responding to it. Doing it episodically actually offers advantages there. We release the first episode, we'll hear that feedback, and there's opportunities to incorporate changes into future episodes.
Your downloadable slide down the Rain-Slick Precipice begins this spring.
You can always check out X-Play on the go with our lovely portable podcast. Just go to g4tv.com/XPlay or search for X-Play on iTunes.
All right, we are out of time for today, but be sure to join us in primetime tomorrow night at 8 on our next show. We preview Ninja Gaiden Dragon Sword and find out if this handheld DS adventure is as bloody and fun as its big brother.
Then Pro Gamer T-Squared is back with some more Halo 3 tips that'll have your friends begging for mercy. And we'll talk to the developers behind Devil May Cry 4 and see what it took to bring the latest chapter to consoles.
And in just a few short weeks, we'll have all the coverage of the Game Developers Conference that you could ever want. X-Play will be on site to get you every detail on the latest innovations at gaming's first big event of the year.
We will have exclusive interviews, breaking news, and all the highlights of the keynote. So if you want to know anything and everything about GDC, tune into X-Play starting February 18th only on G4.
Well, that should be good. I think one final note on the whole, Fox News, issue and all that.
Right.
It would appear, and I want to believe Kotaku on this, and in a correspondence with Brian Crescente, Jack Thompson himself doesn't think that this Mass Effect thing is that big a deal. I mean...
And he hates everything.
Exactly.
Thanks for
See you
watching.
tomorrow.